Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Prescription for Change. I'm so glad that you're joining me today, and I am happy that I have a very special guest on. Very excited about this conversation that we're going to have and all the value that it's going to bring to all of you. As you know, this podcast is centered around living healthy on purpose, being intentional, and also just understanding the relationship between our health, our finances, our mental health, how that's all connected. And I think Gillean Barkyoumb, who is here with us today, is going to really add some great value and be able to answer a lot of questions that I know all of you have. So before I dive into it, Gillean, I just want to introduce you. She is someone that has been in the media space for a long time. She's a registered dietitian, a media personality, a content creator, a founder twice over, and a mom of three to top it all off. And then she has just been in this space, has been able to pivot from her 9-to-5 job and become an entrepreneur and just be really successful. So Gillean, thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to have you on here and really just dive into it. So the first thing I want to really get into is just for our moms in the audience especially, is you started out as a registered dietitian working a 9-to-5 and have pivoted to being a media personality. Can you just share a little bit about your origin story and how that all came about and how you were able to make that pivot? It's a big shift. So if you could share that with us.
Yeah. I mean, when I became a dietitian, they told you there's kind of two routes you can take. One is clinical, working in a hospital, or the other is food service, which is typically working either in a school setting or like a community center and managing their meals and menus. And neither of those really spoke to me. I always loved the media side of things. I would see some of my mentors who were dietitians writing cookbooks, being on TV, doing all these sorts of things. So I always knew I wanted to do that. I just didn't know how to get into it. So when I graduated school, I did not know those steps for media. So I did jump into the corporate job. I was working at a supplement company on the R&D team. I actually wrote for their science blog. So I did a lot of writing and, kind of like moved around in that. I went from R&D to sales and marketing. And I honestly really enjoyed my time there. I learned a lot of skills. I was at that company for about 8 years. And like you mentioned, through that time, I became a mom at that time of 2. And it was just a lot. Like, it's a lot to juggle. And this was pre-COVID. So, work from home was not a thing. They did not let you do that. I actually remember I did convince my boss to let me do 4 10s. So I would have Fridays off. And that way I could spend less on having a nanny at the house and daycare. Right. I could have Fridays off where I honestly did kind of dove into more of my media work because I was really passionate about that. So it was kind of a journey. And eventually it got to a point where I was just like, you know what, this job I'm at, I felt like I was almost kind of being pushed out. They had some turnover with some of their executives and things. And it was like, this is the time. I'm ready to do it. I lined up a consulting contract that had some income. It was less than my paycheck. And I planned out financially all the things and took the leap. And now, we've talked about, I could not see myself going back just because of the flexibility that allows me as a mom and just in my creative passions and desires as an entrepreneur too.
That is such an amazing story. And there's so many great points that you bring up, is just really having to pave your own way. Because like you said, before COVID, especially in the States, there is no kind of working from home or trying to have that work-life balance. And if you were able to do that, it's really just trying to negotiate. Okay, I'm going to work the same amount of hours, but I'm going to work longer hours on this day, like you said, trying to do 4 10s instead of the traditional 5 days a week. And I'm sure with having littles, that's extremely difficult. How did you manage to do all of that? And even just thinking about moving from the 9-to-5 space to now being your own boss with children, how did you do all of that without losing your mind? What were some of the thoughts going through your head?
I mean, there were for sure freakouts. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that I was mostly worried about was financially, because both my husband and I work, so we both contribute to the family, right? And so when you're taking this bet on yourself, you're hoping that you can figure it out. And again, I didn't have any formal training as a dietitian. I knew nutrition. I didn't know the media space, right? I didn't have any PR or marketing training. So one of the biggest things I did when I left my 9-to-5 was we do have a financial planner that we've worked with since day one. It was actually the best wedding gift that a family friend gave us. He was a financial planner. So he actually worked with us for a full year for free to help us get everything set up as a married couple. And then after that, he passed us on to someone else, and we do pay them now. But
that's amazing though.
Yes, it was a great wedding gift. And when I was thinking about taking this leap, we met with him and kind of made a plan. And we had plan B, C, D. I had all the plans in case something happened, And so I think for me, that was one of the biggest things to like stay sane with it, because that was my biggest fear, is like, how am I going to make money here, right? So that was super, super helpful. And the other thing too is, I'm really passionate about what I do. So I was just not going to give up on myself. I was not going to say take no's. I was, going to be resourceful. I was going to figure it out. So I think just having that like passion and drive, and then having the support financially as far as a plan, and then also support from my family and my husband, that's also a big part of it. Those were the big things that helped me drive through it and pursue it without, getting too stuck in fear and going back to like, oh, I'm just get a job now.
Yeah, because that is a big pivot. And it's great that, even when you mention having that support or that network of people around you to help you to be successful. No one gets to where they are alone. And sometimes when, anyone in this space, when they see you maybe on social media and on TV, and it's like, well, you didn't just go from point A to point B in, 2 minutes. It just takes some time. It takes a network, takes a village to make sure that you're successful as well. So I love that. Okay, so for all of the moms in the audience who are really trying to make sure that they have some healthy eating habits that they can model for their own children until it's Tuesday night, everyone's tired, everyone's cranky, you may be coming home from sports night or whatever else is going on, and everyone is hungry and wants dinner. What is the one mindset shift that you tell a busy parent they need to make before anything else?
I think the biggest thing that has helped me is you will be so much more happier, successful with all of your nutrition, and you're helping your family eat well if you have a plan. So I know if I don't have a plan for dinners for the week, which I honestly just make on the notes section of my phone, I just plan out like what I'm going to make for dinner that week. If I don't do that and then I'm scrambling last minute, it's a lot more stress. I realize, like I only have like parts of things to make meals, but I don't have all the things to make the meal. And then it ends up just being, everyone needs their own meal then. And it's so much more work than if you just have a plan for what you're going to make. So I think having that, like just planning ahead, having your meals planned out. I love to do obviously dinners. My goal is always to have 4 planned dinners each week, because the other nights, one night we end up just grabbing food out. One night is going to be a leftover night, and one night is going to be a quick frozen meal, a frozen pizza or something, because, I don't want to cook, or we're running from one thing to the next for sports. So I usually try to plan out 4 dinners for the week just to have all the ingredients on hand for those. And then I even make a list of ideas for school lunches and breakfasts too, just so I have that. And it's funny how you think you'll just know it, but I do find myself often going like, wait, what did I think I was going to make for lunch this week? So it's so nice to have a plan. It just helps you stay more on top of it and not feel like you're last minute running around. And that's usually when you end up choosing less healthy options anyways.
Right. When you're kind of in this bind and you're like, I have nothing else. The kids are screaming or hangry. So when you do your meal planning, do you actually have, okay, Monday is going to be this, Tuesday is going to be this, or do you just have 4 general meals that you're going to make, making sure you have those ingredients stocked, and then just decide what you're going to do that day based on how busy the day is or what's going on?
So I typically pick out the meals per day based on our schedule. So if I know like Tuesdays is basketball practice, so it's got to be something quick, I'll like throw something on, pick that, whatever quicker meal I'm thinking of, throw that there. If it's, something that I feel like, Eric has a meeting this week, so it's just gonna be me and the kids. Okay. He doesn't really like fish, so I'm going to make our salmon that night. Right. So I do kind of plan out. I mean, it obviously never always sticks to the plan because there's always things that come up and change, but I like to like at least have it in my mind. So, okay. Oh, I need to take out the chicken to defrost tonight for tomorrow, so I do try to have it as much laid out for the week and then just adjust as I go if I have to.
Okay. I love that too, because then it actually helps to sit down and think about what it is. Because like you said, you may have an idea of, oh, I'm going to make this, and then you don't have half of the ingredients, and then you have to pivot, which is not fun when you're in a crunch. And also it just kind of helps everyone with consistency as well. So I love that for you. And I think that's something that's really simple that a lot of moms can do as well, especially when you're busy. So the other question that I have for you surrounding, you mentioned breakfast and lunches as well. Do you kind of plan that out? Like, are your kids more, I don't like the word picky eaters, but are they more selective with eating? Or do you just have some set things that you know that they love, or everyone likes the same thing?
I mean, of course they have their own preferences, and I swear they change daily. I'm like, you literally said you loved this yesterday and now you don't like it. So
Right.
I try to, be thoughtful of what they like. Like my oldest daughter, Emma, has never liked a stir fry, like ever. Every time I
Mm.
make it, does not enjoy it. So I know on those nights, okay, on those nights, I'm also going to make some wontons and rice, and then she can kind of have that with some fruit or something, So I try to be
Got it.
thoughtful. I always encourage them to try everything. So even if on that plate, I'll put the wontons and fruit and rice, I'll also put a small serving of the stir fry. Just try it. Just like I'll say, it's not about pressure. Just try it. If you don't like it, it's okay,
Right.
but just try it. And sometimes you'll see these meals that they didn't like, all of a sudden they do, start to adopt them. Or like my daughter with the stir fry, literally tries a bite and hates it every single time. That's fine. And then for my rule for dinner is like, what's for dinner? What's for dinner? If you don't like it, you can have a peanut butter and jelly. That's the only option. And that's, so I do give them something that they can have, but I'm not going to be back at the stove slaving over something. It's going to be a quick like peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and that's what you get. So I had one friend that was like, oh my gosh, my son would love that. He would just eat peanut butter and jelly all the time. I'm like, well, watch out, because eventually they get so sick of it, right? So they do
exactly.
And honestly,
they're going to need something else.
Great little balanced sandwich that's going to stick in their stomach. So whatever, if they want to eat that, I don't have time to make all these different meals, and they know that. So it's like, what's for dinner? It's what's for dinner. And if you don't like it, peanut butter and jelly. That's it. And honestly, my older two now, they can make it themselves. So I'm like, go make your peanut butter and jelly.
Oh, that's perfect. Right. You're like, one less thing. You don't like what's on the plate. And I agree so much. And especially the pediatrician in me is just like, look, I'm not going to be a short order cook. This is what's for dinner. And like you said, just having some other options that go along with the same sort of theme, so you're not kind of put out of your way as well. But honestly, when they're old enough to be able to make their own meals or be able to do something simple like a sandwich for themselves, then great. That's what they'll get for that day.
Totally
All right,
agree.
perfect. And then just kind of now transitioning a little bit to, because I think we're covering like the meals and then also the money part of it, right? Which I feel as women, especially as professionals, we don't talk about money enough and what that means and what that looks like. And you already alluded to the fact that you were leaving your guaranteed job, which was paying more at the time. Of course, moving into entrepreneurship, there's obviously a lot more benefits and freedom there. So as you were taking that leap and you walked away from your guaranteed paycheck just to kind of bet on yourself full time, what did that decision actually look like? And what would you say to someone who's kind of sitting on a great idea that they may want to start, or a business that they may want to kind of jump into, but they're really scared to leave the stability of their 9-to-5 job?
Yeah. I mean, I would say get started as a side hustle. So don't just be cut and dry. I think that leaves you in a scarcity mindset and you're freaking out, and that's not going to result in success for you, right? Because you're going into it with already a ton of fear. Whereas if you have kind of proved to yourself that while you have this financial stability of your other job, your 9-to-5, and you start to dip your toes into this other interest that you have, and you start to see some successes, or kind of where you say, oh, I don't want to go that direction, I want to go this direction. Actually, it gives you a lot more confidence that when you finally do leave that job, that you're going to do it, right? You have some backing to show that there is proof. And so you trust yourself more in it. So I would say definitely start it now. Don't just wait to do it later. Start dabbling in it, start playing with it, so that when you do jump into it, you feel confident doing it.
That makes so much sense. And I think that's what most people or most women don't really get, is that it's not kind of cut and dry. You're not just saying, okay, I'm going to up and leave my job, which is not really financially responsible to do. And thinking about all of the things, because there's so many differences between being employed and having your own business, right? Everything from your savings accounts and insurance and health insurance and life insurance and all of the things, like how are you going to fund all of the expenses for your year? And so just making sure that you're financially stable and understanding what that jump into entrepreneurship actually looks like. So kind of like data gathering, doing your research. And I think it's great that you said just starting as a side hustle, right? You have this idea, you don't want it to just sit there or resent not being able to do that. But while you're financially stable, just like little by little, kind of like dabbling in and seeing what you can get done.
For sure. I mean, there's so many things that you have to do, like getting your LLC and there's all these little things that you can do now so that you're not starting from ground zero, right? You can start to make and you can tell that I'm a planner. I love a plan. I plan meals.
Yes.
Whatever. So I think it was probably, but when I decided that I wanted to fully go into entrepreneurship, it was probably a full year before I finally left my job. So it was a journey of really figuring out how that was going to look. And I would say even before that, I started dabbling in the media world probably like 3 years before I started doing TV segments while I was doing my corporate job. I would do them on the weekends. And so I was already playing around with that. But I would say when I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, it was about a year of planning and figuring out how that would actually come to fruition.
Yeah. It does take some time. Was there any point during this year or during this journey that you were going through this when you said, oh my gosh, should I go back to my employer? Or were you pretty confident in the steps that you had already taken and where you were headed?
I mean, I was so ready to go. Again, I loved the place I was working at. I learned so much, but they had so many organizational changes. So the bosses that I considered mentors had left. It was almost like the universe was pushing me out. They were changing my role, and I was going to have to report to someone that I feel like I get along with everyone, but this was just like the one person I just like did not want to work with. And it was like, oh gosh. Okay. So it's actually a funny story because I was waiting to officially put in my 2 weeks until I got this consulting contract that again was less than my corporate income, but it was something, right? I was waiting for this to happen. And I remember in the morning, I was like parked outside the office in my car, looking at my email, like refreshing my email, like waiting for I had signed the contract and I was waiting for the countered sign. Cause I was like, I need to get this like 1000% this is happening. Right. And I like get the contract and I like go in, it's like, 8 a.m. or something or 8:15. And this was supposed to be my first day reporting to the new person. And my meeting with them was like the very first thing. And I remember walking into their office and I was just like, she was like, oh, like here we are. And I was like, I'm putting in my 2 weeks. I
love that.
And it felt so good to just be like, this is never going to happen. Okay.
Just like a sigh of relief or a weight off of your shoulder. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was so, yeah. So it was by that point, again, I had made the decision and I really felt like the universe, God, spirit, whatever you want to believe in was just like, okay, we are moving forward and you're not going back because there's not going to be an option. There's not going to be a spot for you here and you're not going to want to do this. So,
yep. So this is it. You're like, buckle up. I love that. Everything that you said, it just kind of all aligned. Everything was, like you said, kind of pushing you out in that direction, pushing you to what you actually wanted to do anyway. And I think that's how things usually work. We just sometimes have to sit still long enough to listen and see what's next for us.
Totally.
All right. So the final question I have for you is just really being specific for all of our listeners and things that they can do that's actionable. So if someone is listening right now, or for all of the people listening right now, and they want to start eating better and start building something for themselves, what's the most simple way that they can start doing that? Or what's the first step that they can take today?
I mean, I think you gain so much confidence when you commit to one habit and you stick to it. So, for example, if it is your business and the habit that you are going to adopt is posting about your new business on social media twice a week. And when you do that consistently and really show up to your commitment, it'll start to snowball. You'll start to be committing to other things. Same thing with nutrition, even just as simple as like, hey, I'm going to do better about hydration. I'm going to finish my full, Stanley Hydro Jug, whatever water bottle you prefer. Like I'm going to finish this before noon, and do that every day and just be really consistent. I feel like then it pushes you to keep moving forward in that direction because you feel like, oh, I accomplished that, and now that one task that seemed harder is done and I'm ready to move on to the next thing. Anytime I feel like you're wanting to change something, it's got to be little baby steps to build your confidence. And I also think this is more recently, I actually was listening to a podcast. This was probably like 6 months ago. And this has really stuck with me recently. And it is just the power of making a decision and really sticking with it and just saying like, this is the way it's going to be. So like, for example, one thing that I decided this summer, so I have, 3 kids and summer is crazy. They're like out of school and it's really hectic. And I was like, you know what, this is going to be like, I'm declaring this the cool mom summer. We are doing fun things. Like, I'm not going to feel like when they're like, hey, can we go to the pool today? And I also have this like email I need to send. We're going to go to the pool. Cause like, that is what I'm declaring. We're making a decision and that's the way it's going to be. So I think a lot of times with, anything in our life, if you can like be very clear on what you're deciding, it'll like, you'll keep getting little reminders. Like, what are you going to decide here? Here's an option. Are you going to go this way or this way? So yeah, I feel like when you make a very clear decision, it helps you get to where you want to be faster because you'll be reminded over and over again to take the right steps.
I absolutely love that. And especially because I'm all about being intentional. And so part of being intentional is actually making a decision. And it doesn't have to be life-changing decisions. It doesn't have to be something that is going to be a major overhaul. It just is one little baby step, like you said, because all of those things, kind of like interest in your high yield savings account, is going to compound and build on each other each day so that you build healthier habits. I'm sure your kids are going to absolutely love the Cool Mom Summer too, because it's like yes to pretty much most anything within reason, I'm sure.
We just joined a new gym actually, and they have an amazing pool and they have lifeguards there. And so I was like, yes, we are joining this gym. This sounds great for the summer, but they're still kind of like getting up and running on some things. So they actually have a concession stand or like a restaurant outside, like a restaurant bar that you could go up to and get stuff at the pool, but they weren't having it open because they were still getting like staffing. And so it was, again, they hadn't figured all that out. But my almost 7-year-old, she loves a pina colada. And so she's been waiting for them to make the pina coladas there.
Right.
And I kept telling her maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. And when I would ask the people at the gym, they were like, oh, we're still figuring it out. We don't really know. So one day I just went to the grocery store. I bought the pina colada mix. I blended it up at home, put it in a water bottle, and then I picked them up from camp and went to the pool and we had pina coladas. I was like,
that's so fun.
Like, yeah, it's just, right? Like, why not? It's just, I'm definitely like remembering the things of it does go by super fast. And so like, you're not going to care that you got that email done, but you will remember that you brought the pina coladas to the pool.
Absolutely. I love that story too. And that's so relatable. It's like your children are at an age where they really appreciate that. They're going to remember that. It's forming lifelong memories. And it's something that I'm sure you get to relax and enjoy as well. Like seeing your kids at the pool, they're happy, you can relax. It's win-win.
It is. You're
and
right.
Just creating time for the things that you really enjoy and that you want to do in life. It's funny that you were saying what you've declared and making a decision. Like I just was doing some journaling and just like monthly reviews and everything, just kind of looking at all of the things that I'm doing, what's taking up my time, what I want to prioritize. And then I was like, you know what? I really just want to do the things that I enjoy. So it's going to be back to like, I love reading books. I haven't been able to do that in a little while. Sometimes life just kind of gets in the way, and I want to get back to doing that. So just relaxing and setting aside that time for myself. That's my me time. I have my time in the morning where no one else is up, and I like to just go outside for a walk, do my devotion, whatever else. It's just the time that I set aside for myself, and it just makes me happier.
Completely agree.
So it's, yeah. All right. So I said one more question, but I do have one last thing for you just to leave for our audience. I like to ask everyone, and just curious to see what you're going to say about this. If you could give one prescription out, what would it be for the women listening in?
Oh gosh, that is a tough one. But I mean, I think one thing that has been really sticking with me lately, and it's been really helpful, is to find that time for yourself, right? Just like you mentioned, I would love to be a meditator. I'm not doing that yet. It's still on my list to figure out how to be something like that. I actually did find a great resource called TBM, or To Be Magnetic. And they have amazing meditations if anyone is looking for. Anytime I do set aside time to do it, I really love their recordings. So that's a great one. But I agree with you, like setting the tone for the day. I'm the same thing in the morning when I wake up, and I intentionally get up early so that no one else is awake, and I want to have my coffee in peace. And that's my time to read, journal, even if I wanted to scroll on my phone, whatever. It's me. I get to do whatever I want, or maybe I'm on there ordering stuff for school or whatever. It's just like I want to get something done that is just whatever I want. So I think setting the tone for your day is so important. So for me, that morning time really helps me be a better mom, be better at my business, make better, healthier decisions, because I kind of start off on such a great foot, right? When you have that time and space alone.
I love it. Love it. Love it. And I think we all need to take that time to invest in ourselves more. I know that sounds very cliche, but it really is just a small investment that you're making each time. So before we close out, can you let our audience know how they can find you, how they can reach you if they're interested in knowing a little bit more, or if they want to work with you?
Yes. So the best way to reach me is on Instagram. My handle is It's Gillean. So ITS, and then Gillean is GILLEAN. It's spelled kind of uniquely. I only only know one other person that spells her name the same way, and it's my mom's best friend. That's how she spells it.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
that's what I'm named after. So it's so funny. I have not found anyone else like that. But I also have my website. It's Gillean.com. So if you want to take a peek at any of my media work or my media reel and stuff, that's all in there. So take a peek there. But yeah, just message me on Instagram.
Love it. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot of things as well. And I know that there's so many women who are going to find value in this, whether it's for meals, it's finances, it's taking a bet on themselves. And really, you are a true example of what it means to invest in yourself and really go put yourself out there and become an entrepreneur. So absolutely love it. Thanks so much, Gillean, for joining us. For all of the listeners, whether this is your first time tuning in or you've been following all along, make sure that you share this podcast, this episode with someone that you know who needs it. And until next time, cheers to your health.